Hi, it's Leila, the proud poly kinky queer slut. Today's question is what can monogamous people learn from polyamorous people? Um, and I'm going to just interpret this in terms of relationship structure and relationship stuff. There is a lot, there's a whole lot. Because you know what polyamorous people do? They consciously think about relationships and about how to manage those relationships and how to care for their relationships and their partners and intentionally what they want. So, the way that we are taught in our society to traditionally think about relationships, there's certain definitions. So, boyfriend and girlfriend means one kind of relationship. That progresses. You get engaged, you get married, and then there's this general idea that marriage means this one specific thing of like partnered together in all things and a unit go moving through life. That definition, that kind of construct of these base ways of being in relationships does not account for the variation in personality, in individual wants, needs, desires. So I think one of the things that is most useful in looking into polyamory is that you actually study relationships. You study how to do relationships well. All the books on poly that I have ever read are, come down to teaching people about how to have good relationships. And there's much less shame about going to relationship counseling, about seeking help, but also looking at what you want your relationship to be and consciously addressing what each relationship in your life is going to be and what it isn't going to be, and what your relationship with yourself is and your needs for your own autonomy and space versus the relationship space. Asking these questions is just hugely beneficial. So, top tools that I have learned about, I've already mentioned in this podcast a few times, the relationship smorgasbord. It's from relationship anarchy, which is a term I don't like, but I think I'm going to start calling it relationship autonomy. That's something I've been talking to a friend about, and the idea of actually sitting down and talking about the different aspects of your relationship and what you want from each of those with your partner and agreeing on details, like actually talking through the details. I just think that's really liberating and makes a ton of sense. Also, thinking about your relationship separate from obligation to each other. So instead of what am I obligated to give you and what are you obligated to give me, how do I want to feel from this relationship? How do you want to feel from this relationship? And what are our agreements and guiding principles and methods of behavior and communication that we're going to embrace with that. So getting ongoing help and education really makes a big difference. So the Multi-Amory podcast is great. Polysecure is great. Whatever format you've got, just educate about relationships, because relationships are hard, especially long-term monogamous relationships. No one tells you getting into it that it's going to be work to stay connected, to maintain those kind of connections, and that you're going to change and your partner's going to change, and you're not necessarily going to change together in compatible ways. That doesn't mean that your relationship isn't beautiful and something that needs to be maintained to nurture each of you individually in beautiful ways. But doing that with conscious intention makes a huge difference. So that's really the big lesson: is approach relationships with conscious intention and a ton of communication, and you're much more likely to be happier in that relationship, regardless of what relationship that is. And so just to take it even a step further, these are lessons that can also be applied to your friendships, to your relationships with family, to your relationships with your kids. There are a lot of windows that open up if you just take that box that is, what is our sexual relationship, and just say that doesn't exist in this relationship, and then just apply the other things. Thinking about relationships as a person-to-person engagement, it just changes the view of how you approach people. And for me, that's the best lesson I've learned from being openly poly, is how to better look at each of my relationships one-on-one, individually, for what they are. It's something I was already doing, but I didn't have proper tools around. And now I have all those tools, because that's what they give you in all of the how to open your marriage books and about poly relationship books and the doing love differently kind of podcasts. And seriously, Multi-Amory, it's freaking amazing podcast. If you're into podcasts, I highly recommend checking it out. Thanks very much. This is Leila, the proud poly kinky queer slut. Remember, you can ask me anything, and thank you so much for listening.